Well, I'm very pleased that it was something that claimed to be reporting has been taken down because it's actually propaganda from Hamas. Why do you think that Gary Lineker and these lovies are all right?
Well, I think hopefully the BBC is just checking the veracity of what the programme's about, and it will be.
Shouldn't they do that before they put it out?
Well, when you ever do a 9-month documentary in a war zone, it is not surprising that some issues may arise. I actually think the major issue here, of course, is censorship. I don't understand why British media and British government allows the one side of a conflict to have access to our media and the other side not. As an Irish person, we have great empathy when we see places like the Warsaw Ghetto being devastated, the Ukraine being devastated, and when we see the scenes in Gaza, it breaks our heart because it reminds us of what we went through. My father was 16 years old, Julia, when the British gunboats arrived up the rivers in Cork and Dublin, flattened our cities. And so we have huge compassion when we see such devastation. We think both sides of the conflict should have access to our media. Otherwise, it's censorship and it's free speech.
I mean, the thing is, when you say both sides, I've seen numerous interviews with people representing the Palestinian civilians over the last year and a half plus since we've had the October 7th massacre. We hear from the Israelis, obviously, because we've got an Israeli government. We've got spokespeople, we've got IDF and others and government ministers. But very difficult to... Donica, wait. Very difficult for people to hear from what Hamas have to say, other than when they, of course, stage a hostage return and put their banners up and make their statements, because they are, of course, a prescribed terrorist organisation.
And then that's the point I'm trying to make. I actually think Hamas is the government of Gaza. They were originally elected by the people. Gaza.
2005.
Whatever your views on the government of Gaza, and I don't approve of any religious-dominated government, whether it's a Zionist regime in Tel Aviv or the Hamas.
So what do you mean a Zionist regime in Tel Aviv?
Well, I mean the terrorist organisation that has actually killed thousands of people over the last year, innocent children, thousands of kids.
Sorry, you're calling the democratically elected Israeli government a Zionist machine and terrorist organisation?
Just as I would call the Hamas regime in
You think there's no moral difference between Hamas and what they do and the Israeli government?
They are both. There is a moral difference between the two. One is an occupied people.
So the Israeli government's worse than Hamas.
The other is a colonial regime.
Colonial regime.
Before Britain's empire, it was the Balfour Declaration, Julia, the population of Palestine was 8% Jewish. After the imperial government gave the go-ahead, the population started having a huge influx from Europe. And what we need to do is to find a way to peacefully manage that legacy.
If only you could think of a reason why a lot of Jewish people from Europe went to Israel. It's so difficult. I haven't read any history.